I'm done. That's the end of my Friday.
It was obviously clickbait. Welcome back out to the shop. It has been almost 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks since you last saw a video from us, and I have not even stepped foot in this shop since then. So, last video ended kind of abruptly. When we were putting these axles in, I was trying to get as much done as I could in a short period of time, and I got them pretty close. But I didn't get them done. I mean, and the video was really cut short because I had to leave on a Monday morning to go to a conference in Vegas for a week, and then the 3 days before that, I left on Thursday night to go to my family camp to have a good weekend with a couple of friends that I don't see very often. So I apologize. I missed last week. Now I had a video shot to put up last week when I got home from Vegas, but when I was editing it, I had to listen to myself talk, and I really didn't like it. So I really don't like that video. It's almost done editing, but I don't even want to touch it because I wouldn't watch it. And if I wouldn't watch it, I don't want to post it. But at some point I will probably post it with some type of a disclaimer. Don't watch this unless you're really interested in it, because it's kind of long and boring, and it's just me talking. But I'm back out in the shop. It's Friday night. I hope to get a video up for tomorrow or Sunday. So that means I'm going to get some stuff done tonight, so you guys can come along, and hopefully we'll see where we end up. All right, last week when we ended off, or 2 weeks ago when we ended off, I had just put the front axle in, and I got the front shocks in. I don't think I showed putting the front shocks in, but then I went to put spring retainers in, and I painted the spring retainers. So just tiddly stuff that I've got to get done. So we'll just got to put these guys in here and bolt them down, and we just move on, just little stuff, a little bit at a time. So I just burnt my entire Friday night trying to find the track bar bracket. I don't know where it went. I have a nice shiny new track bar, and I can't find it. Got the bolts, I've got the bar, but I don't got the bracket. I don't know where it went. I don't know what to do. The one off the donor is here. Not new, not shiny, but it should do the trick. I just use a stock style bracket, and got to try to get that guy loose. Maybe it won't be permanent. Maybe the bracket for the other one will show up. It probably won't be permanent, and the bracket for the other one will show up. But only after I install this, and probably a day after we get it on the road, will that thing show up. I don't know where it went. Hey, if you see my track bar bracket, the one frame side, let me know. The threads on this appear to be lefty-loosey. No, rightsy-loosey. So we'll put this guy on there. We'll try to bash this guy off. I'm done. That's the end of my Friday. I don't have the patience to search for crap all over my garage for hours and then fight with junk that I pulled out of the junk. Good morning. It is Saturday morning, and I got frustrated and quit last night because I spent half my night looking for a bracket. Didn't find it. Switched to another one. So we're going to try to get this guy separated and cleaned up a little bit today. This morning, I'm going to treat that bracket and clean it up a little bit and get it painted. So that just in case this ends up being the permanent one in there, or at least during the rest of this time, it won't look terrible, because I don't want to put that rusty piece of crap bracket in there if I can help it. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit and spray it with some paint. I'm going to loosen up that bolt and we'll throw this bracket in there. And then I think I'm going to switch you guys over to the GoPro on the light, and we're just going to try to get as much done as we can today. One week and they go into the freezer. They can yell all they want to right now, but 1 week and they're in the freezer. Go ahead, call that trumpet bird. Time's limited. I got the pre-painting prep there. I got my blast cabinet a little bit better sorted out now. Found a problem, the tip was clogged up. And so it's doing much better at cleaning now. It's still not perfect. I still should probably change out the media and get some freaking roosters. Should probably change out the media and get a better tip, and maybe even put a better filter on the air, because I might be introducing a tiny bit of moisture through the air with as much as going in there. But it cleaned that up a lot better. We're gonna get some paint on that, and then we're gonna put it in. Laid a nice thick, very thick coat of primer on there, so let that dry a little bit, and then we'll put some paint on it. In the meantime, I'm gonna try to get this track bar bolt loose, start out, maybe pick up where we left off last night. Be honest with you. All right, we're gonna have to find a way to secure this bar so that we can get that off there. Alright. That should be rightsy loosey, according to those threads. Good. Just hold on, do your job, you stupid client. Oh, there. Okay, sir. There we go. That'll do it. So I just clean these threads up a little bit so that when it comes time to adjusting the left and right on this, I can do it. I might even replace this joint if I can figure out a part number for it. That's a big win for the table. I know you probably haven't seen it because only about 20 people have watched the video, but a couple years ago I made this table. It's modular, it comes apart, it's got a top on it for welding. And the more that I work out here on this Jeep and on other projects, the more I love this table. It just does so good. It comes apart when I want it to come apart. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. There's two of them. There's a long one where I explain what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and then there's a shorter one that's just kind of like a time lapse, or it's shorter. Neither of them got very many views. Rightfully so, because it's mostly just me. But anyway, let's get this done. Actually looks pretty good. The boot's torn a little bit, but the ball is good, tight. The threads are all good. I think I wouldn't have an issue running this. I wouldn't have an issue running this track bar. I was avoiding it just because I wasn't sure if it was the right length or not. And I had the brand new one that I was hoping to use, but we already covered that. So we're gonna put it back together. And the reason I wanted to get the threads clean is because we don't know, I won't know where to center this axle until after it's got the weight on the vehicle. And so without the engine in it or anything like that, I can't center the axle. So once I get the engine in it and everything, I got to come back and I got to loosen this guy back up again and then I've got to readjust it with this, because when you lift the Jeep, when you lift these Jeeps with the 4 links and the axle goes down, and this bar, this is a track bar, it's a panhard bar, so it goes diagonally, and as the axle goes down, it pulls the axle to one side. So when we lift it, we have to adjust it to recenter the axle in the front and make sure that it drives straight down the road. I didn't want to have to fuss with these threads while it's in the Jeep. But now it looks like it's going to go. It looks good. The only thing that would be concerned is if this is too long for a 3-inch lift, but I seriously doubt that. Most of the time these guys are good for like a 3-inch to 6-inch lift. And that Jeep looked like it had been lifted in sections, so that I would guess this is a 3 to 4 inch, probably 4-inch track bar, and it can certainly adjust down. Get close, come on, there we go. I just got to put a bolt in there, and then I got to wait for paint to dry. So this is something that is of note that I've had to fix a couple times. The track bar it's going against the proper angles of the Jeep. It really doesn't like to be the way that it is. It's kind of like one of those things where it's a necessary evil. And sometimes because of the way that it is, it wears parts out faster. Let me show you what I mean, and we can kind of go from there. So this bolt is what holds it in, right? You see that bolt right there? I think you can see it. Is it lit up enough? There you go. All right, so that is held in by a flag nut on the back side, and that flag nut, and this bar sits in there. So typically what will happen is you'll tighten that bolt all the way down and pinch the sleeve of the bushing with this bracket. But inevitably, that bracket becomes loose, and that sleeve comes loose, and that bolt starts to move. So as you go over bumps, that bolt works its way back and forth in that hole. And if you noticed, that bolt is a little bit loose in the hole. So it's already started a little bit on this axle. So sometimes you end up having to take a washer and weld a washer in there that fits the bolt, and then weld it onto the bracket so that it will stay tight in the hole. The other way to do that, which is how I've done it more often, is you weld a whole plate over the whole thing and then drill the bushing, the front plate, and the back plate out to a slightly larger hole, and either use a captured nut or a fancy little bent wrench to get to the back side. It's a common place for people to have slop in the axle, and it gets worse the more death wobble that you have. And I would say probably can be a contributing factor to death wobble. So I say that because I know a lot of people out there have had to deal with death wobble on these things. And that, especially when I'm fighting death wobble on a Jeep, that's one of the places that I go to tighten it up so that we can find out where the slop is that's causing the death wobble. I don't want to say that that's often caused it. It sure can if it's really bad. But it is just one more spot that tightening it up can eliminate the movement that can help cause the oscillations in death wobble. Now you know. Okay, so my goal today was to get this thing back on its wheels. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the next step I'm going to work on while that paint is drying is rear shocks. Alright, so there's a couple things you're going to need to know about doing the rear shocks in a Jeep XJ. If they have this metal sleeve in there, hopefully we can remove it, because that's what we have to do. The rubber will need to go directly onto the rear axle, unless of course that breaks off. And the bolts on the top almost always break, so you're going to want one of these adapter plates. This is probably not the right way to do this. Let's see if it works. Put the slide there on there. I guess I'm going to have to do it another way. I don't know. This is a tool in the shop, doesn't get used all that much, but when it does, it's irreplaceable. Bushing, 10mm socket, 18mm socket. So, see the wetness? Remember what we talked about last time? Soapy water. Don't use oil or anything like that because some of those propellants can deteriorate the rubber. So if you're trying to make rubber slip, use soapy water. That guy, just let this. Okay, this part of the journey is the part that everybody hates, and it's the worst part, and that's why we're going to stop here and we're going to show you what we did here. So I didn't record taking these out. I have some footage. If I can find it, I'll splice it in over my voice right now so you can kind of see what we're dealing with. From the factory, these have threaded in inserts in here that that hold the shocks in just like this. So the shock sits right up there against the top, and the bolts go in through here, through that threads, and they hold the shock in. However, inevitably, especially with the rust like you have here, they always break off. I have never had one all four come out. Over the years, we have done various things to solve this problem. In the early days, we used to just drill out the old bolts and then tap a new thread in. At certain times, I've had them come in to me where somebody drilled all the way through into the cargo area and put a long bolt and a nut and then pinched the floor down. So it's been solved various different ways, but somewhere along the line, I don't know who came up with it. I don't know anything about who produces it or sells it or where the patent holds or whatever, but I came across this solution, which is basically a nut strip that goes in behind the back there and then slides down and goes into that hole. Oh, it looks like we might have to clear more out. So what we need to do, or what we needed to do, was we need to punch the old nuts off. So I got the air chisel and I punched the old captured nuts off, and actually I left one up in here so you guys could see it. That guy. So they're just held on with a couple little nuts, or a couple little tack welds, and that's what you need to punch off. So if you just take an air chisel and hammer right directly on this end, it'll punch that guy off. This one here is hanging on. It's actually stuck, so I got to get in there and get that out the rest of the way. But this guy here will then come out of the way. That's when you can slide this piece in there. And then next time, if it breaks off again, you just take it right on out and replace the whole thing again. So what I'm going to do right now is, it looks like this guy is not clearance just perfect in there, so something's in the way. So I'm going to clear that out of the way, and then we're going to bolt it up. It makes it very simple. Something that it's a daunting task, and the first time you have it happen, the first couple of times, and you're trying to figure this out, like how do you get in there to fix that, it can be a real pain. And this is by far the simplest way that I have found to solve that problem. Okay. Well, I think it's time to address the thumbnail. We gave up. Not literally. We didn't give up on the Jeep. But we did give up on this being her first car, kind of. And we did give up on waiting for this to get finished in order to get a car. So we picked up a cheap little runner, as most of you that know me in person know. We got a little blue Honda, and she is learning stick shift, and she is beginning to drive that to and from work and activities and whatnot, as well as my wife is driving it too, because it's cheaper on gas than anything else we got. So we kind of gave up on that, but we didn't give up on the project. It was obviously clickbait. But I'm giving up right now on these shocks, and I was trying to figure out why I was not expecting this. And if you're if you're smart and you notice and you recognize what I did, then you're looking at it right now going, hey, you idiot, you know why they don't fit the way you wanted them to. And you're right, I forgot. Those are extended shackles, so it's putting an extra 1.5 inches length on my springs. So that's the 1.5 inches that I'm missing to be able to put that spring in there. My intention is not to leave these shackles in there. I want to go get the shackles that I have in my Jeep and switch them so that I can give my Jeep a little bit more height, and her Jeep will run the MJ shackles, which is what I have in mine, which are only about maybe 3/4 of an inch longer than stock. That will fix the problem with this shock, and that will fix the problem with these being the wrong angle, and that will just fix a bunch of problems here. But it doesn't fix getting this back on the wheels this weekend like I had hoped. So I might do that tomorrow, but that means going up to the other garage and jacking up the not dead Jeep, but the one that won't pass inspection, and swapping the shackles on it, which I'll do. It's okay. I was just thinking, oh, I'll save myself some time now and put these in here for now, and then we'll swap them out later. But that's not going to work because it's giving us too much direct lift for what I want it to do, and that's okay. But that's the end of my time today. I don't have enough time to do all that today, so I was hoping to get these shocks in to show you how to put the top mounts in. But I think what I'm going to do to show you how to put the top mounts in, I'm going to take them off the bottom. I'll mount them to the top so that I can show you how to mount them to the top, and then I'll pull them back out entirely, and then I can put this thing, I can just move on with the rest of the Jeep, because these can be installed at any time, and I can start putting brake lines in and stuff like that tomorrow. But for this video, I'm going to show you how to put the top back in there like we had started before I just suddenly realized, wait a minute, I screwed up here, why isn't this working? And it's okay, it's just one of those days. Here we go. And there you have it. That's how you install a rear shock in a Jeep, even though it's kind of just magic because it's not actually installed. And we're going to pull it back out, and we're going to throw it back in the box, and we're going to put it back on the pile. But that's all the time that I have today, because reasons. Thanks for stopping out. We'll see you guys on the next one. We're making little bits of progress every other week or so, and we're trying our best not to let the blue car, which is it's a little Honda that my kids and my wife have named Rhonda because it's our Honda. Okay. Anyway, Rhonda has been very useful to us, but this coming Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I took Friday and Monday off. Today's Saturday, so this coming Friday. I took Friday and Monday off, and I am going to work on stuff at the house. Some of the Jeep, some of the chickens, some of the firewood, but we'll get there. Thanks again for stopping out. We really appreciate you guys following along on this journey. Mara noticed that her time in the shop has been less than before because she's been busy and I haven't been out here as much, but she's trying to get credit for it for high school, so we got to get her back to work. So hopefully we'll see her on the videos a little bit more, because the interior is ready to go back in, or we're able to put in some bed liner on the floor. So there's some things coming up there that I'm going to get her to do so that she has stuff to do, and then we can work together to get this back together. So a lot going on. I don't know for sure if it's going to be, my goals a while ago was to get it done by the end of December, but I don't know if that's going to happen now. So we'll see. we'll see when it gets done. You know, this is one of those things where we're not giving up on it, but we're changing gears because, you know, it definitely started taking more of my time than I was ready, and I didn't have enough time to give to it. So we'll get there. See you next time.